The football that I know and love brings people together and embraces differences. Black, white, brown, Catholic, Jewish, or Muslim. Rich or poor, rural or urban, Republican or Democrat. Long hair, short hair, no hair. They're all in that locker room together. Teams all over this country are the purest form of humanity that we have. We don't judge, we embrace differences. We live, we learn, we grow, we support, and we defend each other. We're a family. Penn State football, Penn State University, and Happy Valley provide the same opportunities to embrace one another 12 Saturdays each fall. PSU football brings people together like very few things on this planet. 110,000 fans from all different backgrounds throughout our region, from all different parts of the state, and they're hugging and high-fiving and singing Sweet Caroline together. This is my football. This is the game that I love, and most importantly, my players that I love and will defend like sons. Ultimately, this is the definition and embodiment of what we is all about. Lastly, Jonathan Sutherland is one of the most respected players in our program. He's the ultimate example of what our program is all about. He's a captain, he's a Dean's List honor student, he's confident, he's articulate, he's intelligent, he's thoughtful, he's caring, and he's committed. He's got two of the most supportive parents, and I would be so blessed if my daughters would marry someone with his character and integrity one day. Now back to Iowa, and Iowa. Seems somewhat ridiculous, but I'm going to talk about the Purdue game right now because that's our normal routine. Players of the week on offense, winner Jahan Dotson and Noah Kane. On defense, Shaka Tony and Lamont Wade. And then on special teams, Journey Brown. Talking about our next opponent, Iowa has so much respect for Kirk Ferentz. You know, in their program, the consistency that they've had, I think is incredible, you know, in a profession that there's not a whole lot of that left. He's done an unbelievable job for that university. The consistency on their staff, you know, it's amazing. You put the tape on, you know, especially on the defensive side of the ball, it looks the same as it did 4 years ago, and I hope that comes off the wrong way because I mean that as the ultimate compliment. They do what they do, and they do it really well. Obviously, going into Kinnick Stadium is going to be a challenge. We look forward to being able to wave to the children in the Children's Hospital, one of the most special traditions in all of college football. We also know how successful that they have been playing in these type of games. Ohio State number 3, Nebraska number 17, Michigan number 2, Michigan number 15, Michigan State number 5. We know how successful they've been in these types of games. Returning 12 starters, you look at them offensively, Brian Ferentz is their offensive coordinator, done a great job. You look at kind of who they are. They're an 11 personnel team and 12 personnel team. They'll also get into 21 and 22. They're maybe a little bit different than how they've been in years past. Stylistically, on offense, we're impressed with Tristan Wirfs, the offensive tackle, really both offensive tackles too. Alaric Jackson, number 77. The quarterback, Nate Stanley, big, good-looking, seasoned, experienced quarterback. I was kind of really impressed with him at the Big Ten Media Days. He's a big, good-looking sucker. And then wide receiver number 6, Smith Marset, and then wide receiver number 89 is also a return specialist, and Nico. I don't want to mispronounce his last name. Defensively, Phil Parker, I think, does as good a job as anybody in the country. Obviously, their defense is ranked extremely high and very well thought of in scoring defense. Been there for 21 years, 7 years as the defensive coordinator. Again, you look at what they do defensively. They're a 4-down bench front, mainly a 2-high team with variations of 1 high, whether it's cover 3 or fire zone pressures. You look at them again, their scoring defense is ranked is ranked 3rd in the country, 3rd in FBS, 3rd in the Big Ten. We're very, very impressed with their defensive end, AJ Evanessa, number 94, number 11, Michael Ola, again, I don't want to mispronounce his name, but number 11, their cornerback, and then their safety, number 9, Geno Stone. We've been very impressed with him. He's a kid from Pennsylvania. I think he's playing extremely well. It's hard to watch a young man from Pennsylvania playing at another program in our conference playing so well. I got a lot of respect for him. He has really developed into one of the premier players in my mind in the Big Ten. Excuse me. Special teams, they do a great job. As we know, they gave us a bunch of challenges and fits last year on special teams. LeVar Woods does a great job for them. As an Iowa grad, does a great job. Again, appreciate everybody coming out to cover Penn State football. Open up to questions.
Rich Scarcella, Ready Eagle.
Good afternoon, James.
Hey, Rich, how are you, buddy?
I'm fine, thanks. James, Shaka Tony, you talked about after the game Saturday. Can you describe his growth since his arrival at Penn State? And can you cite an example or two of his leadership on the defensive line and on the team?
Yeah, he's been great. We couldn't be more proud of Shaka. I have a very close relationship with Shaka's mom and sisters and brother. You look how Shaka has grown really since he stepped on campus in really every area. Obviously, you look at him physically. We actually recruited him to be an outside linebacker at first at 195 pounds. Changed his mind during the recruiting process and wanted to be a defensive end. And just has embraced it. He's embraced the entire Penn State experience. I think our program has embraced Shaka. He's really turned into being one of the better defensive ends. I think, for me to say a pass rush specialist, I don't think that's fair. I think he does so much more than that. He is a fiercely loyal guy to his teammates. Very respected in our locker room. Is fiercely loyal to his teammates. He's really done well. I'm proud of him. I think he's going to continue to do great things here at Penn State. I think he's got a bright future after Penn State. But I'm really proud of in every area. He's a really good example of a young man coming to Penn State and taking advantage of all the resources and. I'm really proud of him. And I will also say that I think his family has been a big part of it. I think we're able to work together because one of Shaka's greatest strengths and weaknesses is he can be stubborn at times. But I think because we have such a great relationship with the whole family, we work together. Shaka's got great perspectives. He's thoughtful. He's intelligent. He cares about his teammates. He cares about a lot of different subjects. And he's been great. I've learned a lot from Shaka. Appreciate Shaka. And I know our team does as well. And I think what you saw on Saturday, you're just going to continue to see from him. I think the thing that probably people don't appreciate enough is how intelligent he is. His football IQ is off the charts. So, couldn't be more excited about Shaka and his future at Penn State. Very appreciative about how he's gone about his business.
Derek Lars, Wilkes-Barre Times leader.
Hi James, how are you?
Good, Derek. How are you?
I'm doing well. James, through the first month, how do you think Sean Clifford has handled stepping into the leadership role, and how do you think the rest of the team has responded to him so far?
Really good. It's kind of how he's wired. I also think he's been groomed for this. I take a lot of pride that that we've developed, our quarterbacks, in-house. I love his approach. He's been aggressive since really the day he stepped on campus. From a football perspective, from a weight room perspective, really all of it. From a leadership perspective, he's probably more vocal than what Trace was. But he is fiery and he's competitive and he understands how to prepare. He understands that playing the quarterback position is a lifestyle. You're not the quarterback when you step on the football field. You're the quarterback when you leave your house in the morning. You're the quarterback when you go to bed and put your head on the pillow. Everybody knows that you're the quarterback on campus, and you need to understand that. I think I've said this before, is if you think that's pressure, then you probably shouldn't be playing quarterback. But that's the reality of it. Even at little old East Stroudsburg, that was ingrained in me and taught to me. Playing quarterback is a lifestyle. It really is. And to be honest with you, I think that's kind of permeated through our entire program. That Shaka Tony knows being a part of Penn State football and being a defensive lineman, it's a lifestyle. It's not just showing up and what you do on the field. It's all of it.
Mark Wogenrich, Youngstown Morning Call.
Hi, James.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good.
Noah came to Penn State via, maybe it was Louisiana, Texas, Florida. How did those experiences, he had those places, shape him into the player he is now?
Well, I think the fact that, obviously, him, having a little bit of a different path, playing really high competition, having to compete at a really high level very early on. It's funny, we talk about, our running back room. He had the same running back situation in high school, maybe not 4, but multiple guys that he shared the ball with and took advantage of his opportunities. So, he's prepared for this. Also got 2 parents that are very involved, in the process. His parents are here all the time. Mom for games, dad for games and practices, really. They've just been great. So he's having a lot of early success. He's a very mature guy. You guys will get to know that as you get to know him more. He's a very mature guy. He's very well liked and respected, within our program. I don't think anybody's surprised by the success that he's having. And as you guys know, we feel about all 4 of them. Sometimes I think, based on when a guy goes in the game or how the game is called at the time that the person is in there, impacts it as well. But we got 4 guys that we feel really good about, and he's brought a lot of value to the room. And I saw a video that our social media people put out the other day of those guys. I think Noah was getting interviewed in the locker room, and then the other running backs came in and kind of messing with him. I think Coach Snyder's done a really good job of the culture of that position and how much they care about each other and how much they support each other. It's really good. It's really good. It's really healthy. It's really positive.
Frank Bodani, York Daily Record.
Hi, good afternoon, James.
Hey, Frank.
Your defense through 5 games, very highly rated, ranked, regarded. Having said that, is there a next step for those guys' growth? Is there 1, 2 areas that you as a coach see, hey, we still got to get a good bit better in this or that?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is that we're one of only 2 programs in the country that are ranked in the top 5 in scoring offense and scoring defense. So I think, we're playing, at a really high level on both sides of the ball, and I think one complements the other. But yeah, I think, for us, protecting the football on offense and creating turnovers on defense is something that we always emphasize and believe in. Creating explosive plays and eliminating explosive plays, both on offense and defense are important. But it's hard. It's hard to find a whole lot of things to be critical about with our defense right now. I think the one area that we could improve on is turnovers. Is getting a few turnovers. So we'll see. Last time I gave a little bit of criticism in this meeting was against the defensive line, and they weren't real happy about it. But they've responded fairly well. So, maybe if I bring up these turnovers, maybe we'll have, 10 turnovers in the game on Saturday.
Joe Giuliano, Philadelphia Inquirer.
Hi, James.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
Good, thanks. How you doing?
Good.
You guys seemed pretty fired up on Twitter last night. I just wondered how you keep this letter from becoming a distraction for your preparations for Iowa.
Were you on at the beginning of this call?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I've kind of covered it. I'd like to really focus on Iowa, moving forward. I'm pretty pleased with how our guys, have handled it. But again, to your point, the way we keep the focus to where it is by spending our time talking about Iowa and preparing for Iowa. Again, I don't want you guys to think it's not like we stick our heads in the sand and don't have an awareness of what's going on in our country, that we don't have an awareness of what's going on in our community or on campus. But I also know that our guys, want to continue building what we're building from a football-specific perspective, and the way we do that is by sticking to our process and keeping things as consistent as we possibly can.
Mike Gross, Lancaster Newspapers.
Good afternoon, Jimmy.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, with Iowa and Coach Barron, said at the beginning, it's the same thing year after year after year. How do you think he's been able to sustain it for as long as he has? We don't see, for whatever it's worth, we don't see top 10 recruiting classes at Iowa. We don't see what people think of as fancy S&O stuff. But what is there that's allowed him to be so consistent for so long?
I think they are a program and a team that has an identity and have built towards that identity and recruited towards that identity and schemed towards that identity for a long time. That starts with the head coach. That starts with the hiring and the ability to keep assistants for long periods of time. And I think what they've done a really good job is not allowing maybe what is the hot fad or the sexy current fad to impact them. They're going to do it the way they do it. I look at Wisconsin very similar in that light as well, and Iowa in that light. So when you're able to keep a head coach there as long as they've kept him there, and they have an identity. And the identity fits the university. The identity fits the community. And they get that. They know who they are, and every day they're building towards that. And when you have that, you've got a chance to have sustained success. And I think that may sound easier to do, to sit up here and say it, than it is to actually go out and do it, because you look all over the country. And people are having a hard time replicating that. I also think that it appears to me that it's appreciated there. The level of consistency that they have is appreciated there. So I think it's really kind of a combination of all of it.
Donnie Collins, Grand Times Tribune.
Hey, Dan, how you doing?
Good, Donnie. How are you?
Doing well. I want to ask you about something you mentioned earlier with Shaka, when he was a 195-pounder in high school, and he wanted him at outside linebacker. How important was playing defensive end to him then, and what made you guys think he could become the player there that he had?
Well, it wasn't really a big part of it early on. I remember we offered him, and literally he jumped up and did a cartwheel in the hallway. During I think it was late in the process during the contact period. Mark Schmidt, his high school defensive coordinator, was the head coach at my high school for a number of years. I've known him for a long time. He used to coach at Lock Haven. He's a good football guy. He knows football. So kind of all of that. He's just a really good high school program, won state championship. had a bunch of opportunities, had a bunch of offers. We knew we wanted him in our program. We weren't really sure what he was going to be. We were projecting him as an outside linebacker, although he played defensive end. But again, just like I talked about, Iowa's program, I think Shaka knew his identity and, embraced it, pushed back on us and said, this is what I want to do. We felt strongly about him, that we wanted him in the program, and we're comfortable with giving him that opportunity at defensive end. Although he's undersized, he is really strong. He understands how to use leverage, and his intelligence, like I said before, is kind of off the chart. So, I think with Shaka, he knows who he is. He knows the type of players that he is. He knows his strengths. He knows his weaknesses, and he plays a style of game that allows him to be successful. So, we're very, very pleased with him.
Corey Geyer, Altoona Mirror.
Hi, James.
Hey, Corey.
You may have answered some of this about my question on Iowa, but I wanted to ask you about playing there specifically. Why are they so tough there? Anything you can pinpoint? The pink locker room, the atmosphere, the fans being right on top of the stadium. Why are they so difficult to play there?
Yeah, I think, obviously when you're able to have a home field advantage, you're tough to play at home. And, there's a number of programs in the country that are like that. We have obviously a distinct home field advantage. There's some programs that have it, there's others that don't. It's a combination of, the place will be sold out, it'll be loud. They are right on top of you, the way the stadium's built. It's not one of them old school stadiums that used to have a track around it. I mean, they're right on top of you. I think the fact that they don't have pro sports teams there, they're the only show. I mean, they're the show, and they get great support from the state. They get great support from the community. It's a place that not only with Coach Ferentz, but even before him, they've had consistency. It's one of those places. So, I think for all the things that we just talked about is why they have a home field advantage. It's loud, it's hostile, they're on top of you, they feed off of their crowd. We hope to prepare our guys in a way that we can feed off of the energy in the stadium. This is why you come to Penn State, to play in games like this and these types of environments.
Open up to questions here in the room. Raise your hand, we'll get a mic to you.
Hey James, how are you today?
Good.
You have 4 safeties who seem to be playing at a pretty high level. What does that do for your defense in terms of the flexibility and how you're able to use them, especially when you can bring guys like Brisker and Sutherland off the bench?
Yeah, I think rotating those guys helps obviously keep them fresh. It also helps us in our nickel and dime package. We've got a lot of guys that we believe in. And we also have a number of guys with different skill sets and different body types that we can take advantage of those things as well. But I think whenever you have depth and talent and trust, trust in your players and players' trust in the coaches, then it allows you to do some pretty cool things based on matchups and personnel. It also helps us on special teams a great deal too. So, we think it's a really good group. Coach Banks has done a great job of developing those guys. He's a great resource for Coach Pry as our co-defensive coordinator, guy that has been a defensive coordinator, I think, for 15 years before coming to Penn State. So I think that's really valuable because they're not only being coached by one of the better, if not the best, safety coaches in the country, but also a guy that thinks big picture and understands, how all the parts fit together. His coordinating experience, I think, helps from that standpoint too.
Hey James, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. You had a little bit of this experience before the Maryland game in terms of a night game that allowed you to do some extra recruiting stuff. But what does it mean to go to the Midwest, maybe get some extra time Friday on the road with it being a night game, and just how beneficial is that to get your guys out there, maybe send it to night game but not a noon start or something that's a little bit later today?
Yeah, I don't think we're doing anything. I think obviously, depending on where you're at, and how many guys you're actively recruiting in those areas, then it makes sense. I think this one, we'll probably spend some time in the hotel watching film and grading tape and having some discussions and extra meetings, getting ready for the guys. And then the other thing, to be honest with you, it's allowing the coaches and staff to sleep in a little bit. You know, we grind at it pretty good. And when you don't even have that Saturday morning, that's where the 12 o'clock games, you know, going out, you know, I went out Friday night and then up early Saturday morning. That Saturday morning, even if it's just an extra hour, is helpful. So, you know, from what I understand, our plan, we're not going out on Friday. We'll sleep in and get ready for the game and go from there.
James, you mentioned Iowa's kind of their identity, their offense, and how that's really who they are, kind of what that university is. Do you feel like you guys have that at this point in the season for your offense, that identity, and do you kind of know what it is, or is it still evolving?
Yes. Yeah, I think again, you don't get to the point where you're number 5 in the country in scoring defense and scoring offense without an identity. I think the numbers back that up clearly.
And going off of that, with the chunk plays, I know Sean said that he wants to be a little more accurate on those deep throws. Is there anything that you've noticed with those plays in him? Anything you think he needs to fix or clean up? Anything?
No, I think like always with the quarterback, it's footwork. You know, it's funny in the recruiting process, everybody wants to focus on the quarterback's release, or you hear about guys in college or the NFL that they're going to go to this quarterback guru and fix their release, and that kid's been thrown in the backyard with his dad since he was 3 years old, and they're going to change his release in 6 months. I've always been a believer, you know, obviously you want the release to be as clean as possible, but you know, you watch a lot of guys to be successful. You know, in the NFL, we played against Phillip Rivers at NC State 4 years in a row, and then watched him now. I think he's in year 15 in the NFL and has had an unbelievable NFL career. And you look at him coming out of high school and college, he did not have a traditional release. You know, we're big believers that the game of football is played from the ground up at every single position. And if you start with a really good stance and start, and you got clean footwork to allow the quarterback to be in rhythm, so he's on time with his throws and got a chance to be successful. And you know, the old days of the 3-step drop, the 3 hit and throw, the 3 and a hitch, the 5 hit and throw, the 5 and hitch, and then you know the 7-step drop as well. You know, that was, you know, pretty distinct, pretty clear. Where now with all the different things that you're doing in RPO offense, you know, with the ride and decide and things like that, it actually makes the footwork even more challenging. There's just been some times where we haven't been as clean with our footwork, and it is hard to be consistently accurate if your feet aren't where you need them to be, where you want them to be. So there's some things that I know he's working on and Ricky's working on trying to refine. Overall, been pretty good. You look at our completion percentage and things like that. You know, we've done a pretty good job, but you know, this week and as the weekend, as the year progresses, you know, our margin of error is small. We got to make sure that we're putting Sean and the offense and the defense and the special teams in the best chance to be successful, putting our players in the best chance to be successful, and that's always going to come back to fundamentals. You know, I think that's one of the things I think you have to be careful of is, you know, at the end of the day, the most consistent programs, you know, people get way too caught up in the schemes, and schemes matter, don't get me wrong, but typically, the most successful, the most consistent programs are going to be the most fundamentally sound. Week in and week out. Who blocks the best, who tackles the best, who protects the football, you know, those types of things. So, you know, at a certain point, you have to be really good in every area. But you know, we're always going to be a fundamentalist program.
Hey, James. You've often talked about identifying potential game wreckers on the other team, having a plan for them because they can change the game. Would you view Ebenezer in that light? And can you speak to maybe the challenge that Rasheed Walker might have, because he lines up on the right side a little bit.
Yep.
Rasheed's got 5 starts.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's more than fair. Yeah, I would say both defensive ends. You know, we've been really impressed with both defensive ends. Obviously, Ebenezer is the guy that got all the headlines coming into the season, but we've been really impressed with both of those guys. And Geno Stone. those three guys on defense, and I'm not slighting any of them, they got a bunch of really good players, but those three guys consistently jump off at us. And then on offense, it's obviously the two offensive tackles, the quarterback and the wide receiver group, especially with the Smith-Marset, young man. So they're the guys that you go into it saying we better have an awareness of where they are on every single play down, and we better have a plan from a schematic standpoint that accounts for them too.
Hey James, appreciate your comments earlier, by the way.
Thank
Looking ahead, Fred Hansard is a guy who battled his way back, and I think considering the depth you have on the defensive front, it's been pretty impressive to see him emerge and rise again with that group. First sack last week. What did he put in behind the scenes this offseason to give himself this opportunity, and how have you seen him, is he playing the best football of his career at Penn State?
Yeah, we love Fred. Again, another great example, unbelievable mom and dad. Fred is a guy that walks into a room and the whole room lights up. Fred's got unbelievable personality, got a huge smile on his face. He's very appreciative of his opportunity here at Penn State, has fun at whatever he does. Maybe the best dancer on the team. I think he could give Marcus Allen a run for his money. I know Marcus is kind of legendary in that category, but Fred, it's always been more impressive to me when you see a guy who's 6'4", 315 pounds doing it. It's kind of like Muggsy Bogues in the dunk contest. It's more impressive watching a 5'9" guy do it. Fred's a special guy. We knew that during the recruiting process. He's had some injuries that he's had to overcome that has affected his development. But he's battled through it. He really has. He's been great. I think there's a brotherhood at that position, and really throughout our whole team. But Sean does a great job with it. But we're very pleased with Fred. He's got a little bit of a different skill set than maybe some of the other guys, but he's very intelligent, which I think is probably an underappreciated trait, in the game of football. But we're very pleased with him, and we expect him to continue to have an impact. We expect his role to continue to grow or to continue to challenge guys, for more time, which is not only going to make him better, but make the guys in front of him better. So we've always had a lot of confidence and faith in Fred, but it is nice to see a guy that's worked so hard and been such a great teammate to get some return on his investment, because it doesn't always work out that way.
Hey James, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. We've covered this a little bit, obviously. We're talking about getting KJ handling the ball as much as is appropriate. Purdue spent a lot of time and a lot of resources keeping him in check, especially after the first touchdown with the safety over top. Do you expect to see that a lot going forward?
All year.
And when that happens, how do you feel your offense has done taking advantage of the other things the defense is giving you?
Yeah, just like the question you asked. I mean, people are going to have a plan for KJ. I think the common plan that you're going to see is what we call a bracket coverage, where you got the outside linebacker nickel playing the inside leverage and the safety over the top, playing outside leverage or vice versa, and really double teaming the guy on levels, not the obvious double team at the line of scrimmage like you may see on a punt return type of deal with the gunner or the bullet on the outside, but more on different levels. So obviously we got to put him in position to be able to make plays for us and get the ball in his hands, but not be so hard-headed about it, because obviously no different in football, no different in life, no different in business, no different in anything else. When you're trying to take one thing away, you're creating an opportunity somewhere else. And that's in every walk of life. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. Obviously we got other guys that make it challenging to do that, because the defensive coordinators know that as well. When they're bracketing KJ, then Jahan's probably one-on-one. Daniel George is probably one-on-one. Fryermuth is probably one-on-one. Shorter's probably one-on-one, so on and so forth. So, it also removes a guy from maybe fitting in the run game the same way as they normally would. So, we have to understand that, and that's where the chess match comes in.
Hey, James.
Hey, Ben.
A lot of the younger guys seem
Ben, appreciate your article. I thought it was really, really good.
Thanks. Sorry that I had to write it.
Yeah, me too.
Younger guys seem excited about doing things they haven't done before, whether that's going on the road or playing in a game that some people might say is more important than others. Is there value in...
Who says that, Ben?
I'm not snitching.
Okay.
But is there value, I wouldn't say naive, but is there a value in having guys going on the road, not necessarily not knowing what they're getting themselves into, but being excited about going into an environment that some people might be afraid of?
Yeah, I think as long as you prepare them for what the environment is going to be like, then yes, then they can take that nervous energy, which is natural, or they can take that energy from the stadium and use it, for yourself. I thought we did that on the road at Maryland, and again, most of you guys were there. It was a great environment, in pregame and in that first quarter. What we have to do is our experienced players, we have to prepare them for the environment. We have to prepare the young guys that have never been in that environment before for what it's going to be like, and our veteran players need to help with that as well. But that's our process. That's what we do every single week. We talk about it Sunday through Friday. We talk about it in meetings. We talk about it at practice. We talk about it, in the hotel. We talk about it before meals. There's very few things that I think surprise our guys, because we're pretty thorough in how we go about preparing and explaining things, all the way back to summer camp. What it's going to be like, the pink locker room, all of it. Getting our guys as prepared as we possibly can for it. Some people hit me up about it. You're going to go in and cover the walls and that kind of stuff. No, we're going to embrace it. I think the pink locker room is awesome. I think it's one of the better stories in college football. It's one of the better, historical things in college football. It's a great story. So you embrace all those things. You embrace waving to the children in the Children's Hospital. We have a huge connection here with Don and Hershey, and although the game is really important, it's nowhere near in comparison to the battle and the fight that those kids in the hospital are going through. So it's having an awareness of all these things and respecting all these things and appreciating all these things, but making sure that we can kind of narrow that focus down to the things that we need to, for those 60 minutes on the field.
Hey James, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Looking forward to your next trip, so I can ride in your chopper when you come down.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Hey, the last two games against Iowa have come down to the final play. What's your take on why this has become such an intense matchup these last two times?
I think it just goes back to the things I talked about before. They're a really good program. They have great pride. They have a tremendous identity. They play that identity. I talk all the time about 75% of college football teams will beat themselves, turning the ball over or penalties or whatever it may be. They're not one of those programs. You're going to have to beat them. They're not going to beat themselves. And just got a lot of respect for how they go about their business. So, we have found a way to win tough games. We're going to have to do that again come Saturday. I'm always kind of looking at records. They had a pretty successful record against Penn State. I think they're one of the programs that had a winning record, against Penn State. I think maybe they still do by one game, or something like that. No? Okay. Sorry, Chris. But it's close. I always kind of look at those things, because a lot of times you just focus on the time that we've been here, but I always kind of look at it beforehand as well. Again, I think for all the reasons that I just stated is why the games have been so competitive. And really, that's what you want. That's what makes college football so great. That's what makes, I think, the Big Ten so great, is, you know, you can make an argument that our conference from top to bottom is as good as any in the country. There's probably a conference out there that is maybe a little bit more top-heavy, but from top to bottom, you know, you can make a pretty good argument specifically with our side.
You mentioned a little bit about Nate Stanley, things you like about him in the beginning, but can you talk about what kind of problems that he creates as he plays a quarterback?
Yeah, I think, you know, number one, you're talking about an experienced quarterback who's been there and done that, plays with a lot of confidence. Up to last week, he hadn't thrown in an interception, you know, this year. He's a big physical guy. You know, I don't know if you guys, remember early in the season, Idaho had that quarterback that we would get in there, sack him, and we were like jumping on and just trying to hang on to that guy. You know, and when you see this guy, he is a big, physical, imposing guy. He's got a strong arm. He's one of those guys. He's gonna make some throws that you sit there and say, "Wow, that was an impressive, big time throw." So, you know, whenever you got, you know, a guy who's won as much as he's won, whenever you got a guy who's as much experience as he has, that has the toolbox that he has in terms of body type, in terms of experience, in terms of arm strength, and then, you know, with the athletes that they've been able to surround them with at the wide receiver position as well as at the running back position, a lot of weapons, you know, and again, they got an experienced veteran staff that knows how to take advantage of all those things. So, you know, it's going to be a real challenge. All right, thanks, guys. Take it off.
Sorry.
You're supposed to take advantage of those pauses.
Unrelated note, HBO will air their episode tomorrow night. How do you think that went? Because you saw last week you guys tried to keep it the same as usual. Now that it's in the past, did it go as you expected?
Yeah, but we talked about it again this Sunday. I thought our guys handled it well during that week, but then we have to deal with it actually coming on air on Wednesday night. So watch it, enjoy it, flush it, move on. You know, move on. That's easier said than done, but we talked about it on Sunday to make sure that we do that, to keep our focus on, you know, the task at hand. I do think it's a tremendous opportunity. It was a tremendous opportunity for our university and for our community and for the athletic department, for the football program. We're very appreciative that HBO chose us, and I hope they felt like they got the access that they wanted, and we're treated in a first-class manner. All the feedback that I got was excellent from them and their interactions with our players and our staff. But again, you know, it's Iowa. So Wednesday night, how long is the show, Chris? They get an hour away from their studying and academics and preparation for the next game. You know, get some popcorn, watch it, and then move on. And I would appreciate if nobody on campus or in the community would say anything to them Thursday morning about the show. Reinforce that when you see them and they're walking around campus, hit them with the Iowa, which I know everybody loves so much.
Tyler, last one.
This is okay, last one. When it comes to Shaka Tony's conversation this morning, he told us that it felt like Adiza Isaac had the potential to be an all-time great defensive end here. He certainly flashed the first couple Big Ten games. What stands out about his development from January and when given these opportunities, continuing to gain Sean Spencer's trust?
You know, a couple things. You know, one of the things is we haven't found this and we don't know where to look it up. You know, I don't know if there's ever been a 17-year-old to get a sack in Penn State's history. I mean, he's a young freshman, just turned 18. There was a guy that showed up here at like 217 or 18 pounds or whatever it was. He's right, basically 240 pounds already. He's a lot like Etor, where if you tell him to do something, he doesn't question it. He does it full speed. We got guys that are that way. We got guys that got 1,000 questions, but once you answer their questions, they'll go full speed as well. But he's one of those guys, you tell him to do something, he's going to do it to the best of his ability. His background in terms of his family and the role that he had in his family, I think the situations that I've seen that are similar to that, create a lot of maturity, a lot of responsibility that he's had on his plate very early in his life. Mom is phenomenal. She is one of the most unbelievable human beings that I've ever been around. She really is. And the kid, I think, is got a lot of God-given ability. He's one of those guys that you don't have to coach a motor. You watch one of the plays that he made on Saturday, it'd be easy for you guys to find. He rushes the quarterback, gets hit, sticks his foot in the ground, runs right down the line of scrimmage, makes the tackle on our sideline for a gain of maybe 2 yards. I mean, he's got that natural motor. Etor's got that type of motor. We got some other guys that are unbelievably fast, but they don't always play with that type of motor. When you can get 11 guys on defense, literally running to the ball on every single play, like the program needs, like their life depends on it, like that type of intensity, you got a chance to be pretty good. You really do. And he has that. It's not something that you have to coach. It's in his DNA already, so that's really valuable. And I think we got a lot of guys doing that. We got a few guys that we need, to understand the impact of it. It's kind of like I used to always say as an offensive coordinator or a quarterback coach, one of the best things that you can get a quarterback to do, a young quarterback to do, is to go through his progression, hitch up in the pocket, and hit the running back on the check down. And the best thing that could happen is that running back break a tackle and go 80, because it reinforces the fundamentals and the things that, probably people don't, think about. They think about the 16-yard throw on the sideline or the post throw for a touchdown 50 yards. When a young defensive player can have great effort on the backside of a play and end up making the tackle, or how many times have we seen the balls tipped and now just because all of their 10 guys are running to the ball, one of those guys get an interception, or there's a fumble, the ball comes out of the ground and now they're able to recover. How many times do you put the tape on, the ball came out, and you saw a change of speed? A guy that didn't think he was going to be involved in the play, and then he tries to speed up to make the play. Well, what could you have done if you'd been running full speed the whole time? So he's just a guy that gets that. And, we talk about during the recruiting process, obviously the more guys that we can get that come in with that, it makes it easier. So now you're just spending your time focused on fundamentals and technique and scheme, rather than really what we're talking about is coaching effort. And there's different levels of kind of the standard.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Be joined by Will Fries momentarily.
See you guys. Have a good day.